What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man, and I'm super excited to be back. Not that I've gone anywhere. I guess I want to hit that up for a second. My goal is to be as consistent as possible. Obviously, like in order for anything to be successful, right, or progress and get better, I would say you have to have some sort of consistency. And so I'm never going to stop doing this. I think there's a difference between consistency and frequency, even though it's correlated. I would say the frequency, I'm going to try to do as many as I can, but I also don't want to. So my whole thing is like I want to be able to have good content and not just keep repeating the same things and like the same sort of content, because in essence, I feel like this podcast we're going to be reinforcing what we're listening for, right? And that's for like moments of change or methodologies or tips, tricks. Use your own vocabulary word, insert your favorite vocabulary word that means something to you there. But in essence, it's these perspectives, right? And for me, it's points of perspectives. So it's a recognition and then reconsideration of these points of perspectives, which ultimately boil down to figuring out how to make better decisions in certain situations that we're still working on, right? And then sharing the wins, I think, is important. Sharing the wins, the changes that you are making, and then what you're actually getting from it. And then not only the changes, but what comes from the changes, right? Like the thought process, the emotions, and how we process emotions, and then how we deal with them, and how we then speak, act. Well, speaking is acting, right? Or act on them. So that being said, I just want to say I will continue to keep these podcasts coming. So do not worry. And just understand that I'm also setting the expectation, right? Like in the beginning of the podcast, I think the first one, it was my main goal, or one of the goals was like, I'm going to post every day. And I was in an emotional state because like it felt really good. And it was just something that I thought I would be able to do, right? Now, is it something that I can sustain for 365 days? Potentially, right? Potentially. But I feel like, again, one of the podcasts we talked about this, it's the small things, or, small actions do help, or I forgot what number that is, but definitely something along those lines. So make sure you listen to it if you haven't done already. But the thought was be like understanding and recognizing the situation that you're in, and then creating or doing the things that you want to be consistent in a frequency that makes most sense to you based on priorities. Okay, let me see if I can repeat that one more time. It's understanding, right? It's understanding being present in the moment, like for your frequency, consistency and frequency, like being present of what's something that you're doing or that you want to do frequently because you know it's good for you, and then just understand the situation, and then really ask yourself, what is the frequency that I can actually be doing this to sustain this good thing that I'm doing, right? And then value it against the outcome, or like what you're getting out of, or what you're getting from. So I wasn't necessarily exactly able to say it exactly like the first time, so you're going to have to just rewind it and then, send it to me or type it. But it makes sense, right? It makes sense. It's just being able to realize that. And so bringing that back to this situation, I realized I felt a little I'm like, man, I haven't put anything out, or I haven't put like 2 or 3 out, because I was like for a minute, coming out. And again, a couple of things that's happening is some of the production side, like the video business production side, has increased as well, because whatever we got with clients, which is a good thing, right? It's a good thing. That's something I need to work on, and is like being okay that it's like good things are happening, right? In terms of like that end of the side, or that side of things. And so based on that, and then just a couple of the other outside external factors, I just, whether it's the time or just making the commitment to sit in there, or, maybe not really having a well thought out and or at least a well thought out topic, right? In regards to how it can be different, or how I can share it and reinforce. Obviously, we had Patty on there, which was great. Patty's going to come back. I'm going to schedule 2 more guests, and that's probably by the end of October, I may actually do one. I'm going on a cruise. We're going on a cruise, so we may actually do one on the cruise in May. Maybe we'll get somebody to interview on the cruise. Actually, that would be a good idea. All right, so whatever, it doesn't matter. My whole point of this is that I'm providing an expectation to you because I appreciate you as a listener. I appreciate you as someone, and everybody that's been posting and commenting and adding to their stories. Like, I appreciate you that you're sharing it. I also appreciate the love that you're acknowledging towards me in terms of taking the time to do that. So it's just positive reinforcement. That's why I'm doing it. So yeah, so that's the intro. I want to talk about something that recently happened, and I think it comes back. All right, so real quick before I do that, let me finish this first part. This first part then is I'm understanding the situation that I of course want to be able to give you an expectation of what this frequency of podcasts, aka what we're providing perspective. It's a full big circle. Okay, just follow me with this. The perspective I want to give you the expectation based on the perspective that I know of what I said initially and what I'm not doing, but what I am continuously doing because I understand this is a win-win-win for everybody. And then understanding like my situation right now, and then providing the change order or like the updated expectation because you deserve that, right? Like you or the other person in that situation deserves it. And then me, myself, understanding like what my situation is right now, the frequency that I can do this at, and then having honest communication to be able to speak that to you so that we're on this continued level of like respect. And I think in a macro level sense, that's a great leadway. So that's a great leadway. So think about that for a second, right? Just think about that. But I want to lead way into this, and it most recently happened, and this part of my family stuff. And I feel like some of my family have yet to listen to the podcast. So at some point, even my mom, I guess like episode 15, my abusive mom. I think at some point she's going to listen to that and probably call me. But I keep encouraging my brothers, and they have not yet to listen to it. Which is funny because I think it's just plenty of years of like growing up with me. They're like, we've heard all that shit. Maybe some of it, right? Okay, so it deals with my family, and I'm going to share as much as I think would be respectful enough to be able to share with you. Unless I'm going to use my judgment on that, right? So my abuelita, the lady who's my grandmother, right? Abuelita, grandmother. I grew up with her and four of my aunts from very young to like 5 years old, and then that's when I made the FedEx trip over to the U.S. and that's funny. That's a whole nother story. And so I grew up with them, and obviously grew up with my mom. My abuelita was around. I obviously grew up with abuelita as well. Unfortunately, abuelita, like a couple years ago, passed on, like in terms of what natural life is. And then it just became my abuelita, the four aunts, and my mom in terms of like the most nuclear family. And so my abuelita was living in North Carolina with my aunts, my one aunt, so somehow my one aunt was able to help my grandparents buy a house in North Carolina. Abuelito died. It was under my abuelito. And then my abuelita obviously lived there. My aunt sold her condo. She got divorced from like her last husband, sold her condo, and then went back to live with my abuelita at the house that she helped buy. You know what I mean? So whatever. That's like the backstory to it, right? Which is like I think it's just important. It's funny because I would love to be in each one of you all's like thought process, and like would like to know where you think I'm going with this based on like my pretext, right, or pre-context. Because it's a little bit of everything that what you probably all are thinking about, and then I'm just gonna raise the awareness around it. Okay, so that's like the context. My one aunt lives in Colombia, so there's really just three here in the U.S. One being my mom, and then two in North Carolina. And so recently, I got a phone call, and it was like, hey, or I call my aunt, and she's like, hey, Abuelita like ended up leaving, going to like my other aunt's house. So aunt one, aunt two. Um, and she ended up leaving from my first aunt's house, the one that helped buy the house. She ended up leaving that house and then going to live with my other aunt, right, in like an apartment. And then it just was weird because it's like, all right, it really just weird because my first aunt, I'm gonna call her my first aunt, my second aunt. Second aunt lives in the apartment. So my first aunt, she like, I know her, right? Like I prospectively have had good relation, like more. I would say more situations that we've been involved in together than probably definitely the one in Colombia, and definitely the second aunt, right? Definitely not with my mom, with my mom. I hope this makes sense. And so whatever, like I didn't think that there was like some sort of, I don't know what's actually happening. Okay. I wouldn't think that it would be on her, but my other aunt saying some shit, and everyone's like, just like in this weird, I can't believe that it's actually like a reality sort of thing. And then my mom's in like New Jersey, who recently just now has my abuelita, like my grandmother. So my grandmother left the home that she technically owns with my abuelito and my aunt, left that, went to go live in my other aunt's apartment, and is now living with my mom. And so it's just this weird fucking thing of just like everyone's upset at each other. They have different perspectives of like what is actually happening based on like almost like a telephone kind of thing, like, you know, like playing that game telephone when you were little. And the crazy part is like they all sometimes go, don't tell anybody I said this, or don't tell anybody, like don't tell anybody else, or like don't tell, you know, your aunt that I said this, or don't tell, you know, your abuelita. So they all have said it. Like they have said, don't tell the other person in the situation, you know, whatever the fuck I'm telling you, like whatever I'm, I don't want to say complaining because it's not really complaining, but like people can summarize it as complaining sometimes. And or I think I'll say complaining because I think that's where most of our vocabulary is. But it's more it's just stating something that you're not on the same level with someone, right? But you're more like you're more open to speak it to somebody else that isn't them more freely, you know, and like more honestly. And I think that's the issue. And so like in a big scheme of things, like the macro level, I think that's a big part of being able to have a good line of communication honest communication that then incorporates into loving relationships. Right? I think those are connected. And I don't want to keep saying I think. These are the thoughts, right? The logical like pinball ding 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 sort of goes on in my head, right? I feel like that's the macro sense of this podcast. Thanks for listening. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace. Don't forget, nothing changes until you do. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna finish this in a minute. I got about a minute. All right. So yeah, big level of things. It's unfortunate right now of the situation because I can't believe that my aunts, my mom, and my grandmother are in this situation based on like the actions they're taking, and then obviously how they're communicating with each other to like the bigger picture, right? So again, I feel like raised awareness around what is the situation, honest communication with the individual that you're in the situation with, and then I think also like an agreed upon like big picture decision outcome what are we looking for? Like, what's the outcome that we're looking for? And let's decide that we want to get there in the best possible scenario, or like the best possible actions that we make with each other, you know, and interact with each other, or decide to do with each other, and get to that outcome that we all benefit from. And I think, and I've seen I've seen families and I've seen people do it, and it's like, it's just, that comes from practice. That comes from your frequency and consistency of practicing these things that you just become better at. Just like tennis, like anything else. Like, it's this emotional state and way of thinking, right? A way of thinking, of processing and being aware in that situation. Like, okay, wait, this isn't going the right way. Like, no one's having fun. No one's like enjoying their lives. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone's over here upset and screaming or yelling or feeling some sort of way, you know, on this level of ish, right? So I think awareness needs to be brought. Someone needs to bring it, and then figure out a way to get other people to understand it. And then that way you can continue to move forward. And again, it takes time, patience, and practice. So just keep doing it, you know, keep going at it. If that's something that you're dealing with or have dealt with, you know, you're not alone. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have dealing with something like that, whether it's in a family or even at work, like working relationships, or, you know, and just in anything you're doing. That's, think macro and then micro. I think it falls within that same category. Yeah. Let's see. So that's it. You know, I don't know. And I decided to stay out of it. Like, I didn't want to call. My mama was like, hey, call your abuelita, see how she's doing. I'm like, I don't want to call right now, because I feel like if I call, the only thing that's going on in their heads is like, he's calling for a reason. Like, who told him not to call, or who would he talk to? You know, and what's he going to try to say? Because like everybody else, some other cousins did the same fucking thing. Like, some of the cousins did that, where they called this person, called this aunt, and said some shit, and then this person called or texted this aunt and said some shit. It was just like, what do we do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? So I just told my mom, I was like, Mom, listen, I'm going to tell you what because my mom got my abuelita home, and then she had requested for me to call and just get some information from one of my aunts. And I said, Mom, listen, I love you, okay? But what did we discuss and what did we talk about last time? It's like, I don't want to be involved in this situation that deals with 4 adults that can have a conversation if they decide and choose to. Like, I don't think I should be the mediator right now amongst people that are not ready to have a mediator, such as myself. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I think you need to handle it, but just try to like handle it like minus the emotion, because we all know emotions can, especially elevated emotions in the situation, can elevate it to where the individual acts, you know, not rational, or they say something not rational, you know, and that goes for anything. I'm thinking of other situations that even happened today that would fall within the same thing, because all situations fall within the same thing. Okay. And that's what we got to keep getting better at. Okay. So I hope things work out. I talked to my abuelita, you know, she's doing great, but I've seen like a pretty big decline within like her face and her health, and just like 2 years ago, I would say maybe 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, like she still looked like the abuelita I remembered like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like 30 years ago. You know, maybe not 30, but you know what I mean? Like she didn't look like she changed. And then over this last year and a half, I can see a total body like transformation. Her face, like it's just, I think reinforces the fact that we need to get better at it, so that way at the end of the day you have somebody that you have, a family that loves you, have people that love you, you know what I mean? You have that just feeling of inclusion and love. And I think that's what's happening. And I think shit like money and like, and again, money's important. I don't want to shit on it, but in this case, there's certain things that like we value more in certain situations, or maybe that's the thing, is identifying what is my situation and what do I need to value more right now. Because there are such situations that you're going to value money more than something else in that situation based on the situation, right? But if the situation comes where it's like we're all worried about this financial asset versus like Abuelita's health should be prioritized, right? Like that should be logically what everybody wants to help with, and then figure out the best possible solution, and then value the other stuff secondary to that, All right. Well, that's it for today. I probably could go for a couple more hours, but I'm not going to. So I appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you for everything you guys have done. Good job. Give yourself some time to just thank yourself and say thank you and fucking pat yourself on the back. It takes time. It takes time. And I feel like I'll leave with this. Continue to figure out a way to increase the frequency or maintain a frequency, right? Because sometimes we just stop and then come back. But like, even if we do it once a week, or 30 minutes a day, or just continue doing it. Like, I'll be honest, like my breath work has not been longer than like 30, 40 minutes, or maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes. I love doing like almost an hour or two. Being up by 7:30, going outside for like 2 hours, now in 15 minutes, and then be able to be back by like inside 9 o'clock, 9:30ish, ready to work. Ready just to get into the day. So, but I continue to do it. Like even if I go outside for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I do 11 minutes Wim Hof. At least I'm doing it because I know I'm going to get back to it at a frequency at some point in my situations. But I feel like frequency and consistency right there is what we need. So in all thoughts, okay, and just being present and raise your awareness. All right, homies, I'm going to let you go. Have a good one. Keep crushing it. Go get it. Don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Peace.